Hey, everybody. I'd like to welcome our listeners to another episode of Coach Rodo's podcast, Winning Regardless. Today, we're going to talk about playing time. And I got a few notes here. It's kind of going to be a Q&A type of discussion that I'm going to have with you all. One of the questions is, what does playing time really mean? Well, playing time to me as a coach means, well, not even me as a coach. For most people, it means how long you're in the game. Whether you're on the court, whether you're on the floor, it's hard to equate. Excuse me. It's hard to equate playing time to life situations, because most of the times when we're in our life situation, as far as getting our jobs and things of that sort, your playing time is already being determined. Unless you want to look at playing time as far as how long I have to be in a certain position to elevate to a different position, a higher position of higher pay or what have you. But when it comes to, playing on the court, what playing time means is basically how hard you work to get the time that you are afforded on the court or on the field. How does it relate to opportunity and readiness to me, it's totally up to you. That was the question. How does it, relate to opportunity and readiness? And to me, it's all up to you, for the simple fact of it's your effort. As a coach, I'm coming to you from the field and the court. I look for your effort, and it's not necessarily in the game times, because everybody puts in effort in the game time. I want to know what kind of effort you putting in when it ain't game time. I want to know if you in the park, you missing on your free throws, 25% free throw shooter. I want to know if you out there at the park putting in that effort, shooting, your 3-point, your free throws, trying to work on get them better, maybe get it up to 50%, 50 to 60. That's to me, that's what playing time readiness is, because the effort that you put in to prepare yourself for readiness. Because that's the one thing as a coach that I could never, ever teach you or give you or coach. I can coach effort, but I can't bring it out of you. That's something that's got to be yours. You have to own that, because I can coach you X and O's. I can't make you play harder. I can ask you to. I can run you to death because I don't think that you are. But however, only you know what your true effort that you're giving is. And another one is, how do you earn your spot? Why is it important to earn it and not expect to have your spot? And how does that equate to your playing time? The importance of earning your spot is a big thing. Let's take it from when we were kids. You 5 or 6 of us. There was always the one guy that was a leader. And how did he earn that spot? When we jump in bikes, he was the one that would jump off of the highest ramp. When we race, he was the one that was always winning the race. We wrestle. He was the one that would beat 3 or 4 of us all at one time. How did they be? It was just that person had the effort that none of us could match. And, some of it might have been athletic ability or him being bigger and stronger, but it doesn't, when you're a kid, you don't think about those things. You think about that hierarchy, like, how did he become the leader of our little group? And we really don't have one, but we still look to that person as being the strongest of us all. And, I look at it in the sense of the effort that he gave was stronger than ours at that age group, at that time and point in our life. He rode his bike faster than we did. He was quicker to pick up on basketball than we were. He was faster in the 100-yard dash than we were. He hit a baseball further than us. And we watch him play, and he knew he was the leader of the group. And so whenever he got the football, when we played Kill the Man or Tacalina or whatever you want to call it, he ran the ball like somebody was chasing him, because we were. 100 of us is chasing him, trying to tackle him. And he ran that ball like ain't nobody gonna catch me, nobody gonna touch me. And then he'd turn around and he'd have to come through us again, and he'd do the same damn thing again. And it was an effort that person had that none of us could match. And it translated to playing time in athletics and events that we would play in. It was, during field day, he would always have the blue ribbon. And it's not, this is just a hypothetical person. This isn't a person that was really like that in life. This is just a hypothetical person that we all know, because we all grew up with that person. And, the low crawl, he would always win that. He'd win the real wheelbarrow race. So, when you look at your wins and losses in life, you can really look at your playing time as a kid. You can take it all the way back there to know that how you pretty much set yourself up with your play style as a child would lead you to, when you play athletics and playing time in life, you always saw the kid that sat in the back that was the real chill, didn't really want to get dirty, didn't really want to play. You saw him as soft, or however you want to say it. And it probably wasn't that he was soft. It was just probably that they had no interest. But as a kid, you didn't know any better, So maybe that kid would be on your team at the YMCA, and nobody picked him because we always knew he, And again, this is hypothetical person. This is no names. These are all hypothetical people that I'm speaking about. So, he would just be on the team and, just sit on the bench and get the oranges at the halftime. We got our oranges and had our water and, wasn't really paying attention to the game. He'd sit there with his feet crossed, maybe cleaning his fingernails, or, would clap when he see everybody else clapping because he had no grasp of the game, because that really wasn't his interest. So, therefore, when it came to playing time, you understood and knew why they didn't get it, and how that related to opportunities in games were when you're needed, you went. As me as a coach, I looked at the opportunity for the kid who I saw working hard. I did keep kids on my team that really didn't have an interest, because I thought that maybe I could pique their interest. So I do know those kids. But when I looked for opportunities to give the kids, I looked at the ones who, whenever we had practice and I knew they were working on whatever they were terrible at. And to me, no kid is terrible if they've never been taught. If they've been taught and they're not any better or anything like that, you can't say they're terrible, but you can say they have a hard time grasping whatever it is, the concept that needs to be grasped in that aspect of the arena. But if I saw in practice you were putting in the effort, which is only thing that I asked, then I would find time for that kid, because you deserve it. He or she put in the effort, put in the time. Coach, what is it? I'm not playing, so what do I need to do to get my playing time up? And don't send your parent over to me, because today's kids don't know how to speak for themselves. Their parents, do all their talking. Their parents do all their emails. I used to have a rule for my team: don't fucking email me, because I'm not gonna read it. If your kid wants to know why they're not getting any playing time, I'm I'm here after practice every day. Come and sit down and talk to me. And it took, it took a while, because of course you're always gonna have caring parents that's gonna email you anyway, despite what you told them. And they always wonder why I didn't answer their emails. And I told them, I said, because I fucking told you, don't email me. Your kid can talk to me on his own. So, the kids started understanding that I was easy to talk to. So they would come and talk to me. And eventually I would see them after practice. And it's funny, because when you tell a kid what he needs to work on, and you're in the gym and he's in the gym, and he'll be looking at you and you'll be doing something else, but he'll kind of look over to see if you're paying attention to him actually putting in the effort to get better at what it is they just had the conversation. And that was that you just had the conversation with them about. And that was the thing that I loved the most, because at that point, what my mentor, Steve Dunning, used to always tell me is every kid is coachable. You just have to figure out how to coach them. It might not be the same way that you're used to coaching. Like I was hard on my son. I was hard on my two, who I considered my two nephews, very hard on the three of them. The rest of them, I had to individualize the way that I talked to them in order for them to grasp and understand where I was coming from. Because I remember one of my rules was you couldn't say what. Don't say what to, if I call your name, like, one of the kids on my team name, he didn't say what, but just as an example, but one of my great players, I love him to death, named Bronson Wyman. If I said Bronson and he turned around and said, what? Hey, everybody get on the line. Let's go. We're about to run. How long? Till I say stop. And it, like I said, it got to a point where, the parents would come up to me and say, they don't even say what at home. But that was the effort that they put in to not say what, because they knew that there was consequences behind that word. So what I would try to do as a coach is meet them where I could, and not on their level, because there's a level that I needed them to. We say meet the kids at their level, and that's fine, because in some instances you do, but in some instances you can't meet them at their levels when you're trying to, per se, coach them up. When I'm trying to get them to a certain level, and I don't want them to be on the level of my son and the other two kids, because we're in the gym every day while, some of my kids were baseball players. They had baseball practice. My kid and the other two, and the other one of the other one was baseball players also. But I also had them up at 5:30 a.m. at the YMCA before school. They would have baseball practice. We go to the Y after baseball practice. We go get an hour workout in. Then I let them play and be on their own while I'm going to do my little thing at the Y. But the thing is, I never put that type of pressure on the other kids on my team. Their playing time didn't predicate on the extra work they put in, because they were kids. They had life to live. They had fun to go get to, and they had other sports to do. It predicated on the effort you gave me during our time together. And to me, that was important, because that went along with how you earned your spot. You earned your spot, obviously, by how good you were. I'd be a fool if I sat here and told you that, playing time your skill didn't have anything to do with it, because that's crazy. But I would make sure that even the kids who weren't there to be serious but wanted to just be part of a team, but came to practice every day, gave me effort, even though they weren't that good, I would find a way to get them in. And the way that I would do that is I would take my starting five, and I didn't care who we was playing. We gonna press and press. And, we were in some of the leagues and in some of the tournaments, we were lucky enough to get such a big league to where, I could put those kids in for like 6-7 minutes. I mean, these are kids who probably ain't going to play basketball outside of after this. After we're done, they're probably going to go on. Like, one of the kids that was on my basketball team went to high school, got cut off the high school team, got cut off my 8th grade team, got cut off the high school team. Well, kid is out in L.A. He's a big-time music producer. Go by a name K Bizzle. What is it? Keegan Bach. That's his name. Keegan Bach. I never forget him, because, he looked like the white version of Blaze from the arch rivals video basketball game. He had the goggles and everything, but this boy worked his behind off. He just wasn't the most skilled, but I love the kid to death because he never quit, always gave effort, but he just wasn't there. And again, his effort went into his music, to where now the kid is like all over social media. I mean, he signed a huge contract while he was a junior in high school to produce music for Wiz Khalifa and another cat. So, again, the way that effort and playing time folds into life, it can be, one thing. And what I, as a coach and a leader, look for is just your effort. I can teach you everything else. I always used to tell my kids when we're playing in the basketball game, hey, If all things are equal on that sideline, if my team is just as good as that team, you look to the coach, because X's and O's is all me. If y'all mess up on the play, that's my fault. But effort is all you. That I cannot write a play for. If you don't put in the effort, if there's a loose ball in front of you and you don't go get it, that's your lack of effort that you didn't put in. So I always used to tell them, in the game of life, it's all about effort, playing it, whether it's playing a basketball game, whether it's playing a football game, whether it's playing a baseball game. It did not matter. It's all effort, because life in itself is a game. And those who put in the most effort are the ones who reap the biggest reward. Just like your playing time in your athletics, I find it hard for parents who come up to you and think just because their kid is on the team, they should play. Or, I paid this certain amount of money and my kid not playing. And the one thing that I used to tell parents was, listen, your money don't guarantee playing time. This ain't goddamn pay to play. This is some for real shit. But our team, we took 40-point beatings and we gave 40-point beatings. That's what it was all about for me. It was about teaching these kids that your playing time, as well in sports and in life, is predicated upon your effort, not because somebody is here to advocate for you. Because life is not about getting ahead in life, and getting playing time in life is not about advocacy. It's about, your effort. Are you gonna put in the effort to be what it is you need to be, such as me being a business owner along with being a coach? The effort that me and my wife had to put in to become a business owner, not just to become a business owner, but be successful. Never in my life did I think that I would have nights where I don't fucking sleep because we got shit that we got to get done, or we got, certifications that have to be read over and over and over, lawyers that we have to meet, the time and the effort that's put into it to getting that, just to try to elevate your life is the same as it's a sport. Life, it's a team sport. It's predicated upon, how much of an effort you're gonna put in. I believe that we got lost somewhere along the way. We started listening to our kids cry about maybe not being as good as the next person, but they still deserve to play because they come to practice every day. I run the same amount of suicides. Yeah, but you come in last. I do the sit-ups. Yeah, but you finish 5 minutes after everybody else do. Water break is over with. Yeah, but you still the last one over there at the water bowl. Those are things that, we as coaches look at when we're assessing playing time. The same thing that bosses are looking at when they're assessing playing time, which is raises and different positions in companies, which is the same as it is in athletics. It's you're not guaranteed it. And we've come to a place where, people believe that their income buys, playing time in life and in athletics, when it's competition. Competition is based on, winning competition is based on your effort and the amount of homework and the amount of practice and the amount of coaching that you take and that you get and that you accept. Another question here is, how do you handle disappointment? How should you respond? Or, if you feel that you aren't getting what you deserve. Well, this disappointment is part of life. There's nothing you can really do about that. You're going to disappoint some people are going to disappoint you. Example, my kids, that's the one word they never wanted to hear from myself or from their mother, that they disappointed us. So they did everything that they could, and they weren't perfect kids. Of course they did some stuff that, they got in trouble for. But the one thing that I have to say is I was never disappointed in action that they did throughout their 24 and 29-year lives so far, simply because I think that they put an effort in, not trying to disappoint myself or their mom, and that means a lot, because, that goes to playing time with life. So how do you handle disappointment is basically how you were raised to handle anything. If you were allowed, when you were disappointed or mad or upset, to kick the wall, scream, run around, curse, throw things, and your parents, he's just having a tantrum, he'll be fine. Well, that shit follows you when you get older. And if you act like that when you get older, A, you either going to get your ass whooped because you're going to do it to the wrong person, or B, you ain't going to have a job. Because ain't nobody going to put up with that. You got to learn how to handle disappointment, because disappointment is part of life. I always used to tell my kids, for every one loss or every one disappointment, let's try to find 2 wins, to offset that one loss or offset that one disappointment, so that you're not thinking about it anymore, because you're going to be disappointed. There's really nothing you can do, because disappointment is one of those feelings that you can't control. You may have done all that you can, and you might just be at a school where the coach just don't like you, and he can't cut you because you're good, but I don't gotta play you. Well, I mean, that's disappointment in itself, when you know that you should play, and you put in all of the work. Sometimes that shit's gonna happen, but you can't let that little slice of disappointment define who you are as an athlete, as a person. You have to figure out how to turn that into a positive. And believe me, disappointment is very, very hard to make positive, but it is possible, because I've been disappointed in my life through things, but a few of them I've figured out how to turn into positives. I've disappointed some people heavily, but I've done a lot to make amends for those disappointments that I may have brought those people. And it's nothing that, I may continue to still disappoint people and just, don't know about it, because it happens, but you just can't let it define you, and you can't continue to let that be a pattern of figuring out, how to disappoint people, because the way that you figure out how to not disappoint people is by living your life and not trying to always be a people pleaser. That's that playing time thing, where we try to please everybody, and, you might be pleasing them the wrong way. Like a lot of coaches, I never liked a yes man type of player. I like the yes coach, I'm gonna bust my ass because you told me to type of player. There's a difference in the two, and if you're coaching, you understand where I'm coming from with that. The dangers of entitlement are, which comes along with not knowing how to handle the disappointment and acting like a child when you are disappointed, is because of entitlement. Those are the dangers. You get a child that don't know how to be told no, or don't know how to be told that, hey, you're not winning, or even cut. I mean, the disappointment of being cut. You have a kid that's entitled, that comes along with that. Well, you know what? My dad's going to start a team if I don't make the team because we got the money, or I'm entitled to play simply because I'm at practice every day. So I'm entitled because my mom and dad paid the money, or I'm entitled because I'm the son of the CEO. My son will tell you, he's the head of one of my my sales department, but that motherfucker will tell you, hell no, I made his ass. He couldn't work for me until he had a degree, and I didn't give a fuck if it was a associate's or a bachelor's. And when you come in here, you're working from the bottom, And you got to have at least your own job for like 4 years. And that motherfucker had his own job for like 8 years before he came to work for me. 16, as soon as he could get a job, he had a job. Didn't come work for us till he was 24. Got his degree while working for us because I compromised. But again, I saw the effort and I knew that the one thing that he did not want to do was disappoint us by going back on his word, which was, I know I'm supposed to have my degree, Pops, but I will get it. And I promise you that. And, he did get his degree. So the entitlement thing is terrible in the sense of it makes kids become entitled grown-ups. So what I mean by that is you become a grown-up who expects everything to go their way. And if it don't go their way, it better go their way because they say it so. And I'm sorry, but that leads to disappointment because you'll run across somebody like me who will tell you, well, I didn't raise you. I wasn't raised in the same house you was. So I'm sorry that you're disappointed in whatever my answer is. If it's not the one that you want to hear, but you might want to go to somebody who's going to give you the answer that you want to hear. That's what entitlement brings. And I never agreed with it. I still to this day don't agree with it because it teaches poor work ethic. It teaches, it makes, to be honest, it makes our kids horrible grown-ups because, they're not competing. And so therefore it's not a thing of they earn their playing time or they earn their place on the team. It's a thing where it was given, and anything that's given ain't worth having to me. I love it when it's either earned or taken. That's how I live. That's what playing time means to me. You either earn playing time or you take playing time. It ain't gonna be given to you, and that's playing time in life. It's the same thing. Another question is, how do you mentor youth to stay focused on the long game? The way that I mentor youth, as far as playing time and staying focused, is I ask them questions. Like, let's just say during the game, if something goes wrong, I'll walk over to them, whoever wasn't engaged, because I'm always paying attention to them. They're kids. It's going to be hard for them to stay engaged. So I go up to them. I say, hey, we just had this situation happen. What should we done? Oh, coach, he should have swung the ball to the middle because now all of a sudden we wide open in the middle and he can either hit the shot or he could dump it down into the lane. What I end up doing the next time out? I end up putting that kid in because he's engaged. Because not only is he engaged, but he's showing me that, I want to put in that effort that I didn't see on that play, coach. Just give me that chance. That's how I keep them engaged in the long game, by asking them questions during the game. I used to hear parents who didn't know me. I would, during the game, if one of my players messed up during the game, I didn't really give, it's 5-on-5. But I'd pull him over to the side. I don't give a damn if we're running 5-on-4. We got to talk about the play so that we understand, because after all, you're 9, 10-year-old kid. Who cares about this little runner? I need you to learn what we're trying to teach, and what better time to learn is during game time, not on the timeout. You're not going to learn shit in the timeout because now I'm just drawing it on the board. But if we're actually doing the action and I can pull you to the sideline while the action is going and we can talk about it, guess what? I'm keeping you engaged. And guess what everybody else on the sideline is doing? They're staying engaged too, because they're looking like, hey, coach, we're a player down. We're a player down. And in your mind, you're saying to yourself, they paying attention enough to know that we're supposed to have 5 out on the court, where the parents are yelling, hey, what are you doing? It's not about you. It's about teaching these kids to stay engaged and stay committed to what it is that they're doing. Even when it doesn't look right, you still engaged enough to know that it don't look right. And why doesn't it look right? You can identify it. That's how you earn your playing time, because you're paying a fucking attention. And that's how I keep them engaged for the long game, is during the game, I try to teach scenarios to even those that are on the bench while the action is going. And that's how you find out who's engaged. That's how you find out who really wants playing time. And the thing about playing time is, once they get it, man, they bust their ass to not give it back. You know, that's the one thing you find those kids that all they wanted was a chance to get some playing time, to show you what they do, to show you their effort, to show you what they can do and what they can be. And in closing on this, I just want everybody to know that playing time is predicated on you. Playing time is predicated on your effort, whether it's in the game of life, whether it's on the basketball court, football field, soccer, baseball, whatever it may be. Your playing time is based on your effort and your knowledge and your ability to stay engaged in life, in sports, or whatever it is you do. I would like to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Coach Rodo's Winning Regardless podcast. You can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcast. Have a good day. Any questions,